thank you to all the kids for telling us the story of Christ's birth again this year. Great job. Now a reading from Isaiah. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken, as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the trampling warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. The word of the Lord. Well, despite it being Christmas Eve, I feel the need to confess something to you all. And I make this confession very hesitantly because I feel that this could be something that might come back to haunt me someday. And it's possible I've mentioned this before, but nevertheless, it feels worth mentioning again. So here goes nothing. I hate glitter. Okay? I said it. I hate glitter. There it is. And yes, I know that hate is a very strong term that we shouldn't really use. Don't use it. Okay? But when you're talking about something like glitter, which is basically evil incarnate, sometimes that language just has to match. Anyone else with me on this? I'm not alone, I know it. Okay? This stuff gets on everything. You know? I mean, sure, it does make things look sparkly and pretty, but when you open up that card that comes in the mail and the first thing that happens is that all that glitter falls out of it, and it falls on your desk and your pants and your hands and basically everything within a 10-mile radius. I mean, there's no need for this nuisance in the world. There is nothing more infuriating than going home at night and looking at yourself in the mirror and seeing that one fleck of glitter that always seems to stick right here. You know, no matter how careful you think you've been all during the day, right there. I've actually heard of some teachers that use glitter as an example of how germs are spread. You know, they'll put glitter on their hand, on the students' hands, and then later in the day they'll look and see how far the glitter has spread. It's on books, it's on doorknobs, it's on each other. I don't know what would be worse in that scenario, thinking about the germs that are spreading or the glitter that is everywhere. So maybe you saw this. There was a couple days ago, the New York Times published an article about glitter and how it's made. So apparently, aluminum metallized polyethylene terephthalate, which is its actual commercial name, is a major industrial secret. And in the United States, it's only produced by two companies, and they're both in New Jersey. It is believed that the first glitter was ever produced in the 1930s. And because it's a microplastic, and as we're finding, this is a substance that can take up to 1,000 years to completely biodegrade and disappear, we are assured that every ounce of glitter that has ever been produced since they started in the 1930s still exists today. Isn't that comforting? Glitter is literally indestructible. Okay, have I sufficiently made my point yet? While I appreciate the intent, the shimmer, the beauty, this stuff, to me, is just miserable. And I'm sorry if I have ruined it for you. But when I look at this glitter, I feel like there has to be at least one redeeming quality for it. And it came to me. As we gather here this evening, hearing again the story of the birth of Jesus, lifting together our voices in praise and thanksgiving to celebrate the arrival of our Savior, hopefully being stirred by the hope of the good news that comes from this message. Maybe we can all leave here with this hope and this story stuck to us like glitter. Earlier I was alluding to the fact that if I receive a card that has any sort of glitter on it, my body literally has a visceral reaction as I think about the possibility of getting that glitter on my hands. What if this good news of God with us, of Emmanuel, or this joy that we experience through the telling of the Christmas story was not just a fleeting moment that happens here on Christmas Eve, but was something that we literally felt viscerally in our beings every time we encountered this story? What if we didn't just think about God's presence on those weeks or these holidays when we come to church, or in those moments at our house when we open up our Bibles, but instead think about God's presence every time we look down at our hands as if there was a speck of glitter stuck to them, or every time we look in the mirror as though we see a glimmer of glitter stuck to our cheek? It would be in all of those numerous moments each and every day when we would be reminded that God is indeed present with us and walking with us in this life of ours. So instead of being mad about this mess that covers our skin and never seems to wash off, we can rejoice in the fact that Jesus has been with us in these messes in our lives. God is more prevalent in our life than glitter ever could be. Do you think seeing God's good news sprinkled throughout our lives in this way could change how we live? Do you think maybe our political conversations would be the same if we had this constant reminder of God's presence in the midst of those conversations? Do you think we could look at each other in the same way if we saw that glimmer of God's claim on them like God's claim is on us as we spoke about someone else or as we spoke with someone else? Would we go further out of our way to avoid the things that do not bring life as far as some of us will go to avoid touching glitter? How does this Christmas story of God's light in a dark world shape how we live each day? Because let's be honest, sometimes this story of God's love can be as annoying as glitter can be, because it means we are being called to live in a different way. Sometimes we shouldn't say the things that we say. Sometimes we shouldn't ignore the people that we like to ignore. Sometimes we don't like to pick up those crosses. We'd rather keep them buried in the closet until Christmas or Easter roll around. This new way of living that this story of Jesus Christ can bring sometimes is a weight we are called to bear. Yet this good news, this hope, this joy, this new life is it's already a part of each and every one of us. We could say, it's a shimmer of light in a very dark world. It's the beauty that only glitter can bring to us, even when we don't want to have anything to do with this stuff. It's the story of God being present with us, with each and every one of us, in every part of our life. So, are you ready for this to shine? I wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas.